Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Romjue, managing editor of Auto Rental News, back with another episode of ARN Industry Newsmakers. Joining me today is Sanchit Garg, the CEO of Rev AI. Sanchit, welcome.
Nathan, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
So, your company looks a lot at the global perspective of what's happening with car rental, and I know you're going to be talking about that at ICRS. Just give us a quick preview of what you'll be covering in your session on May 14th.
Absolutely, Martin. So, just to give you a quick perspective, RateGain operates across car rentals, OTAs, hotels, and many industries, all encompassing travel. So, it collects billions of data points across what's happening in the industry as it pertains to competitive intelligence. And so, for Rev AI, we have access to a lot of data around demand patterns on what's happening in the car rental industry, something that we use then to work with our partners who are running their car rental business to help them operate their fleets, manage their revenue, so that they can do it in a data-backed way versus just based on gut feel. And so a big chunk of what I plan to cover, Martin, at the talk that I plan to do at ICRS is to really talk about what kind of external demand factors should the car rental industry be looking at when they look at their pricing day in, day out. What are some of the intrinsic pricing behavior that we are seeing, which is very important for the car rental industry to take note of because the industry keeps evolving. There are new players like Turo in the industry. There's a lot that is happening. And I really want to make sure that we cover from our perspective some of the data points that we are seeing at our end, both on utilization as well as on the pricing front, which we think will be very helpful and very useful to all the attendees.
So I know there's a lot of data and information involved here, and it's a very broad question, but as 2026 is shaping up, what are some of the demand patterns for car rental that you're seeing around the globe, looking at the different continents and looking at the flow of the business and leisure travel marketplaces?
Sure. Well, you talk about 2026. There's a big event happening in 2026 in the United States. So just to take an example of what's happening with FIFA, and just a side note here, because RateGain owns Sojourn, an acquisition we made last year. It's a San Francisco, Omaha-based marketing technology company, which aggregates data of travel intent. So not just booking data, but travel intent. So we have understanding of what kind of users and travelers coming inbound into the US are doing based on their searches as well as their actual bookings. And so I'll delve a bit deeper using some of those insights that we have. When we looked at the FIFA data, we saw many demand patterns. So for instance, we see a big spike coming around 12th of June, specifically to 21st of June, right? And obviously it jives well with some of the matches that are happening in the first wave. This demand is there all through June, but then it starts to taper off in July, right? So something that you would expect based on the matches. Now you would then question, okay, who are these users? Are they domestic? Are they coming? Is this inbound traffic? So obviously domestic leads the arrivals throughout, but then Europe is the second strongest secondary feeder during all of these peak days. Then we also looked at what is the average stay duration. So all the travelers that are coming from Asia, they stay significantly longer. So travelers coming from South and Southeast Asia, almost 72% of their stays are expected to be 8 nights, right? And how do we know that? We understand their booking patterns. So we know that they're booking their flight in and flight out somewhere between 8 to 9 days, right? And that tells you that what kind of traveler should you be tailoring towards when you're trying to plan your rentals around that time. Domestic travelers naturally are looking for shorter stays, on an average between 3 to 5 days. Then we also looked at some of the group mixes. So a big chunk of the travel that is going to happen, around 68% of them is solo. So a big chunk of the trips are solo heavy everywhere. But the domestic trips, we see a lot more couples and family. So roughly 37% are couples and about 24% are family. And then in terms of the family share, the highest is coming from all the travelers that are coming from Latin America, right? Now, again, this is something very useful and very insightful that you could pick up when you think about planning your fleet sizes, your pricing.
Hmm.
It's very important for you to understand, are you planning for solo travels? Are you planning for couples? Are you planning for family? And by the way, what I gave you is just a very high level view, but we have the ability to slice and dice it by each of the airport locations, downtown locations, all the cities, right, all across US. And I'm only talking FIFA right now, but we do this every month
Hmm.
across all major cities in the US. So when we work with any of our partners, we give them this view, sitting today, 3 months out, sitting today, 6 months out. So when they think about how they're planning their rentals, this is something they should factor in.
Hmm. Well, speaking of getting the higher view of things, one of the big themes at ICRS this year will be AI, and we have some
Yep.
sessions dedicated to it. What exactly is happening in the world of car rental with the AI boom? What are some of the leading influences and changes that you see shaping up this year, as fast moving as it is?
We are seeing that if you look at traditional car rental businesses, right, we are seeing close to 60% of those businesses are showing interest in moving towards automated, digitized pricing, and close to 20% have already moved, right? So, of course, it leaves a big chunk that still can make that step. And what are they, why are they doing that, right? One of the most important things that we are seeing is that the industry is becoming extra competitive, right? And has always been the case. It keeps getting more and more competitive. And you want that edge, right? You want to make sure when the demand is high, every extra inch that you're able to push up on your yielding is direct profit to your bottom line, right? And while, of course, traditionally you can set some rules of what the pricing should be, some guardrails around it, as the industry moves, you want it to have the ability to dynamically move the prices because the demand is not static, right? I just gave you an example of how things will move when a big event like FIFA happens. Then there's another event that happens, right? So on and so forth. It is very important that there's a system that is able to auto update based on what's happening in the marketplace, based on the prices, based on the fleet sizes, to ensure you spend most of your time managing your complex operations while the pricing runs itself. Yeah.
There's one last area I want to touch upon, and of course, it's very important to rental car operators. You talked about pricing and how it's gotten more dynamic and more responsive. So
Yeah.
what would you consider the first wave of results from these pricing dynamics? Are rental car operators having to adjust their rates mostly down, up? Is it more volatile? Are they making higher profits? How is this AI-driven dynamic pricing playing out in a bottom line sense?
It's an excellent question, Martin. I would say that you would think that it is just pricing it down, but that's not what it's doing. The fact of the matter is because it is data backed, and let me explain what that means. If the AI is able to forecast the demand, it is confident that you're going to sell out. It prevents the situation where you've already sold out that rental at a cheaper price. Because if you don't have a forecast, you're just guessing it, right? And
Hmm.
in this case, if an AI is able to project with very high degree of accuracy that 30 days out, 60 days out, this is the forecast that we're going for, it knows that there is an ability for you to push up the RPD or the revenue per unit by an inch and still ensure that you're able to maintain your high utilization, right? So, of course, when the demand is high, its goal is to make sure it keeps pushing up the prices until the point it realizes that, okay, this is the ceiling based on the competitive dynamics, based on the utilization that you have. And it makes sure that while maintaining that high utilization, it is able to push up the RPD. So that's the high demand scenario. Come to a low demand scenario, it knows utilization is the game to play. Now, how do you do that, right? Are you going to be giving discounts just to sell more? Well, beyond a point, you can keep giving as many discounts, but it won't move the needle, right? So you better not do that. And how does it know that? It knows that based on historical patterns of the prices that you have put in your system and what was the impact of the demand that you saw. And therefore, what we've seen is that very often when we work with any of the partners and when they're thinking of the kind of pricing that they should be putting, their instinct many times is, okay, let's just cut the price. We don't know if we're going to hit the utilization goals, let's just cut the price. But the AI kind of keeps it steady, tries to push it up, until it realizes that, okay, this is the max limit that it can go to. And then, of course, its goal is to make sure that you are still not standing in the parking lot with a lot of cars, right? So we think that it has the ability, when the demand is high, to push up RPD, which is direct impact to your bottom line. I mean, each car rental company is very different. We've had car rental companies who've grown their revenue by 20-25% within a year, right? There are others that are on the other extreme, about 70-80% growth in a year. I would say that that's more outlier, but I would definitely say like instances where the car rental companies have made more money are almost 80% of them, right? And the other 20% is wherever there has been an actual decline in the market itself, right? If the market itself has declined, obviously no pricing engine can change that, right? That's a demand problem. But as it pertains to the revenue management itself, a lion's share, I would say 8 out of 10, have seen a significant bump up, largely driven by an increase in RPD and increase in utilization.
Okay. Well, Sanchit, I know there's so much more we can talk about, and you'll certainly be getting into this more at the International Car Rental Show, May 14th, near Dallas. And thank you very much for joining us.
Martin, thanks so much. Really looking forward to meet everyone at ICRS. And thanks for organizing the session.
All right. And for those of you who would like more information about today's topic, you can go to autorentalnews.com, and you can also check out our complete agenda at internationalcarrentalshow.com. For today, I'm Martin Romjue, Managing Editor with Auto Rental News. We'll see you again soon here on another episode of ARN Industry Newsmakers. Thank you.